Hey everyone, and welcome back. So let's talk about what's really valuable. For the longest time, we all thought about wealth in terms of stuff you could dig out of the ground, right? Gold, oil, that was the standard. But what if I told you that entire era is coming to an end? We are living through a massive shift, a fundamental change in the global economy, where the most valuable commodity on the planet, it isn't physical at all. It's pure, raw processing power.
And this isn't some sci-fi movie plot. We're talking about just a couple of years from now. The world is facing a huge shortage of processing power. So why? What's going on? Well, it boils down to one thing: artificial intelligence. Think about it. Every single time you ask an AI a question or you generate an image, you're using an incredible amount of computational energy. AI is hungry, and we are burning through the world's available supply way faster than anyone expected.
Okay, so that brings us to the core problem we're facing today, the AI infrastructure crisis. Let's really dig into why the old way of doing things, the model that built the internet we know, just can't keep up anymore.
You know, this slide really says it all, doesn't it? For years, the tech world was all about who had the smartest people writing the best code. The bottleneck was all about the algorithms and the data. That was the game. But look at where we are now. The new bottleneck? It's all physical stuff. We're talking about raw electricity from the power grid, massive cooling systems to keep things from melting, and the actual high-end computer chips themselves. The competition has literally moved from the world of bits and bytes back into the physical world of atoms.
And this is what that broken system actually looks like in the real world. Imagine you're trying to build the next big AI company. Well, good luck with that. You're going to get put on a wait list for months, just hoping to get your hands on the GPUs you need. The big cloud providers, they just can't build these giant data centers fast enough. But here's the part that'll really get you. Most of the super expensive hardware they already have is just sitting there, idle. We're talking utilization rates as low as 15 to 40%. It's just a fundamentally broken and inefficient system.
So, you might be thinking, okay, that sounds bad. The old system is broken, so what's the fix? Well, what if we could just flip the whole model on its head? That's where a decentralized solution comes into play. Imagine a global, totally open marketplace where anyone, anywhere, can contribute their computing power to the network.
And the key concept that makes this all possible is something called DePIN. Now, it sounds complicated, but I promise the idea is actually pretty simple. DePIN stands for Decentralized Physical Infrastructure Networks. All it really means is using crypto incentives, tokens, to reward people and companies all over the world for plugging their hardware into one giant, coordinated network. The easiest way to think about it? It's basically Airbnb, but instead of renting out your spare bedroom, you're renting out your computer's spare processing power. Simple as that.
And wow, when you put the old way right next to this new model, the advantages are just crystal clear. Take resilience, for example. Instead of one company's server farm going down and taking a whole service with it, you have a network that's spread all over the world. There's no single point of failure. The costs are way more transparent because everything is tracked on a blockchain, and this one is huge. You actually get to control exactly where your data and your computations live. That's a real game changer.
And hey, this isn't just some theory on a whiteboard. This is happening right now at an absolutely massive scale. Take a look at a network called Ether. They have already pulled together GPU power from over 93 different countries, creating this enormous decentralized supercomputer that is already servicing major corporate clients. This is the model in action, and it's proving that it works.
Now, remember those awful 15 to 40% utilization rates we were just talking about in the old data centers? Well, this is the number that should really blow your mind. On a DePIN network like Aether, it's over 95%. That is a staggering jump in efficiency. It means almost no processing power is being wasted. We're taking all this hardware that was previously just sitting idle and turning it into a constantly productive asset. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting for us from a financial perspective. Because when a piece of hardware is being used 95% of the time to meet a nearly infinite demand, it's no longer just a piece of equipment. It becomes a high-yield financial asset.
Let me break this down with a quick story. Let's meet Bob and Alice. Now, Bob is a smart guy. He plays it safe. He puts his money into what they call a high-yield savings account and gets maybe 4% a year, and that's not bad. But then there's Alice. Alice sees where the world is headed. She decides to buy a powerful GPU, a compute node, and she connects it to a DePIN network. Because the demand for her GPU's power is relentless, she can earn what we're calling a compute dividend that could be multiples higher, maybe 15% or more. Do you see the difference? Bob is just saving his money. Alice is owning a piece of the essential infrastructure that's powering the entire AI economy.
And that right there is the core idea of this new compute standard. It's a total mindset shift. The real wealth isn't just in using AI, but in owning the machinery that makes AI possible. It's a shift from being a consumer to becoming a provider, kind of like being a landlord, but for intelligence itself. And you might be thinking, okay, that sounds amazing. But is this something a regular person can actually do? Well, what's so incredible is how accessible this is becoming. For someone who has the right kind of hardware, networks like Aether have a really simple process. You check your hardware specs, you apply through their portal, you get your machine integrated, and you can start earning rewards. It's a direct path to becoming a supplier in this new economy.
And this is leading to a whole new financial ecosystem being built on top of compute power. I mean, it's pretty wild when you think about it. People are using their GPUs as collateral to get loans, just like you would with a house. They're selling the future rental income from their hardware as a token to get cash today. We are even seeing the first compute-backed currencies start to emerge. Digital dollars whose value is tied directly to the productive power of this network. It's a whole new financial frontier. So let's zoom out for a second and just look at the massive big picture here. What happens when the world's most important resource changes? The ripple effects are enormous. We're seeing seismic shifts everywhere, from energy markets all the way to global politics.
The signs are popping up everywhere you look. You've got Bitcoin miners who are the world champions at finding cheap electricity, right? They're now pivoting their massive operations over to AI because the profits are higher and more stable. You've got entire nations demanding something called sovereign AI because they don't want to be dependent on foreign tech for their country's future. And the very metric of success itself is changing. It's no longer just about raw speed. The new game is all about pure economic efficiency, tokens per second per dollar.
This chart here gives us a little hint of what could be on the horizon. The black line is Bitcoin's value, and you can see how it often grows along with the global money supply. Now, the point isn't about Bitcoin itself, but about what happens when a new digital asset class gets plugged into the global financial system. The growth can be absolutely explosive. And right now, compute, an asset that's tied to real-world production, is on the verge of becoming that next big asset class.
And that leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? For the last century, geopolitics has been defined by the control of energy. If raw compute power is truly the new oil, then the struggle to control its supply and its distribution, whether by centralized corporations or these new decentralized networks or even sovereign nations, that struggle is going to define the next 100 years. The race is on. Let me know in the comments, what do you think is the most exciting part of this shift?
Wow, that was something, right? But don't go anywhere, there's more coming, and it's going to make you think in a whole new way. Quick reminder, if you like learning cool stuff without the fluff, subscribe now. You won't regret it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Violet Vault. All right, let's talk about something we all deal with every single day, our digital lives. All those apps, all that software, the platforms we basically can't live without. We've all kind of become digital tenants, right? We're paying rent every single month for access, but we're not actually building any equity for ourselves. Today, we're going to dive deep into this because a huge shift is happening right now, one that's about to flip this entire model completely on its head.
Wow, I mean, this really hits home, doesn't it? Just take a second and think about your own credit card statement. Every one of those payments is basically you buying another brick for someone else's castle. It's an expense, a little leak in your financial bucket that just drains your money away to build value for some giant corporation. But what if it didn't have to be that way? What if those payments could become an investment instead of just a cost?
And that, right there, is the heart of the problem. We are stuck in this digital rental economy. We pay, month after month, for temporary access to tools that are absolutely essential for our work, for our creativity, for our lives. And the moment we stop paying, poof, we lose everything. All that work, all that data. This dependency, well, it's the foundation of something I call the subscription trap.
So let's break this trap down. Because it's so much more than just a couple of charges on your bank statement. It's actually a systemic problem that creates this constant financial drag, and honestly, a lot of mental stress for all of us, whether you're just one person or running a whole business.
A lot of people are feeling this. It's called subscription fatigue. Think about it. The average household has something like 12 of these little monthly leaks, and each one might seem small, but together, it's a constant drain. It's also just exhausting. You have this mental overhead of trying to track everything. And if you're a business, it gets even worse. You get punished for growing with those per-seat pricing models. Here's the kicker. The more you use these tools, the more valuable they become, but you see none of that value. And maybe the scariest part, losing access to a core tool could literally shut you down overnight. That's a lot of power to give someone else. Okay, so that's the bad news. But what's the alternative? Well, this is where things get really, really interesting. This is where we see this fundamental shift in thinking. The idea is to go from being just a passive user paying rent to becoming an active owner who's actually building equity. It's a move from being the product to becoming the shareholder.
And the core concept here has a name. It's called usage-based equity. Now just imagine this for a second. Every time you pay your subscription fee, or even just by being an active, loyal user on a platform, you are automatically given a tiny piece of ownership in that platform. All of a sudden, that monthly bill, that liability, starts to transform into a potential asset. You're building something for yourself.
And this just lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got the old way, the digital landlord model. You're a user, your payments are an expense, and that money is gone forever. But on the right, you have the new model. You are the shareholder. Here, your payments are an investment. You're not just paying for access anymore. You're literally buying into the very tool that you're helping make valuable in the first place.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds kind of futuristic, right? Like something out of a sci-fi movie? But the technology to build this new ownership economy, it's already here. It's not one single magic bullet, but a toolkit of 3 core pieces that work together. So let's break them down, nice and simple. First up, we have tokens. Okay, the easiest way to think about a token is just like a digital certificate of ownership. One kind, a governance token, acts exactly like a share in a company. It gives you voting rights on decisions. Another kind, a utility token, is more like a digital key, or maybe even an old-school arcade token. You need it to use the service, and its value is tied directly to how useful that service is.
Next up in our toolkit, we have smart contracts. My favorite analogy for this is a digital vending machine. It's super simple. You put in a specific payment, that's the if part of the code, and the machine is programmed to automatically spit out your product, that's the then part. A smart contract is just an agreement that executes itself. It completely removes the need for a middleman. It's just code doing its job.
And finally, all these pieces come together in a totally new kind of company structure, the DAO, which stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. A DAO is basically an internet-native organization where the people who hold the tokens, the users, the builders, the community, are the ones who actually own and manage the whole thing. It's like a co-op for the digital age, which is pretty cool.
So is this just a theory, or is this actually happening anywhere? Well, you bet it is. The idea of earning ownership through your contributions isn't completely brand new. Let's look at a few models out in the wild that are already proving this concept works.
For example, there are platform cooperatives, like a music service called Resonate. They have this awesome stream-to-own model. If you listen to a song enough times, you actually gain ownership of it. We also see this all the time in the startup world with sweat equity, where developers or advisors get paid in company shares for their hard work. And even ICOs, initial coin offerings, are a version of this, where early supporters can buy tokens to help fund a project they believe in. Okay, now this part is super important, especially if you ever work for a startup or get offered ownership. When we talk about equity, it can come in different flavors. On the left, you have real equity. This means you own actual shares, you get voting rights, you're a true part owner. On the right, there's something called synthetic equity, sometimes called phantom stock. With this, you don't actually own shares, but you get a cash payout that's equal to their value. See the difference? Both can reward you, but only real equity truly makes you an owner. So, when you put all of this together, what does it all add up to? Well, it's about way more than just a clever financial model. This is a massive philosophical shift towards what we can call the sovereign user. That's an individual who has real control over their digital tools, their data, and ultimately, their own destiny online.
And this quote, this just perfectly sums up the entire idea. True control, true sovereignty over your work and your digital life, that's not something you can just rent month to month from some big tech company. It's something you have to own. It's about making a conscious move away from being dependent and toward being self-reliant.
And so that really leaves us with this one big question to think about. As these new models start to grow and become more common, the choice is going to get clearer and clearer. Are we going to keep being digital tenants, spending our hard-earned money to build empires for other people? Or are we going to embrace this shift and start building our own? The tools are here. The choice is ours. Let me know what you think in the comments. What's the first step you're going to take after watching this? I'd love to hear from you.
Wow, that was something, right? But don't go anywhere, there's more coming, and it's going to make you think in a whole new way. Quick reminder, if you like learning cool stuff without the fluff, subscribe now. You won't regret it.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Violet Vault. You know, we talk a lot about building wealth, but today we need to talk about protecting it. Because there's a huge deadline coming up that honestly could cost your family millions of dollars if you're not prepared. It's not some big secret, but it's flying under the radar for so many people. We're talking about the 2026 financial cliff, and in this explainer, I'm going to break down exactly what it is, why it matters so much, and most importantly, what you can do about it right now.
So let me just ask you this straight up. Is your family's future secure? I mean, it's the question that keeps a lot of us up at night, right? Am I doing enough? Well, there's a major shift coming in US tax law that's about to make this question more urgent than ever before. It's something that could directly impact the legacy you're working so hard to build and pass on.
And this is the year you need to circle on your calendar, 2026, specifically January 1st, 2026. That's the day the rulebook for passing on your wealth is scheduled to get a massive rewrite, and it's going to affect a lot of families.
So what exactly is this cliff we're talking about? Well, it all boils down to a major tax law that's been on the books for a few years, and it's about to expire. To really get what's happening, we gotta hop in the time machine and go back to 2017. That's when a law called the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, or TCJA for short, was passed. Now, it did a ton of different things, but one of the biggest changes for families was that it massively increased the federal estate tax exemption. In simple terms, it nearly doubled the amount of money you could leave to your kids or your loved ones completely tax-free. It was a huge deal.
But here's the catch, and it's a big one. That huge tax break was never meant to be permanent. It was written with a built-in expiration date. It's what they call a sunset provision. And that sun, my friends, is scheduled to set on December 31st, 2025. The very next day, things change.
Okay, so this isn't just some boring legal thing for accountants to worry about. This has a very real dollars and cents impact on families like yours and mine. So let's actually look at the numbers and see what this means. And wow, this chart right here really tells the story, doesn't it? Just look at the visual difference. Right now, today, a single person can pass on over $13.5 million without paying a dime in federal estate tax. But in 2026, that exemption is projected to get cut almost in half, dropping all the way down to around $7 million. That is a massive reduction in the amount of your legacy that you can shield from taxes.
In this table, this really breaks down what that means in cold hard cash. Let's imagine a couple with an estate worth $50 million. If something happens to them before this law changes, they can use their combined exemption, and their potential estate tax bill is about $9 million. Still a lot, right? But now look at what happens if they pass away after the deadline. With that smaller exemption, the exact same estate could face a tax bill of over $14.5 million. Just think about that for a second. That's over $5 million more in taxes just because of timing. That's life-changing money.
So here's the most crucial point I want you to take away. This is a use it or lose it situation. Any part of this higher exemption amount that you don't take advantage of before the deadline, well, it's just gone. Forever. There's no grandfathering clause, no do-overs. The window of opportunity is closing. Okay, so that's the problem, and it's a big one. But let's not panic, let's make a plan. Let's talk about the solution. How can you actually protect your legacy from this change? Well, it all starts with understanding the two most fundamental tools in your toolbox, the will and the trust.
And this slide gives us a really great side-by-side. So over on the left, you've got a will. Think of a will as a basic letter of instruction for what happens after you're gone. The big problem? It pretty much guarantees your family a long and expensive trip to court. But now, look over on the right at the revocable living trust. This is a much more powerful and flexible vehicle. And as you can see from all those beautiful check marks, it helps you avoid court, it keeps your family's financial affairs private, and it can even step in and manage your assets if you ever become unable to yourself. It's a game changer.
So what is this probate process that we're trying so hard to avoid? Well, it's the public court system for validating a will. And the key words you need to hear are public, slow, and expensive. Probate can literally freeze your family's assets for 6 months, a year, sometimes even longer, and it can cost 3 to 5% of your entire estate's value in legal fees. Can you imagine putting your family through that headache while they're grieving? No way.
And this quote right here, it really just nails it. A trust is specifically designed for privacy and efficiency. It lets your assets completely bypass that whole court system and get to your loved ones quickly, smoothly, and without all the unnecessary drama and cost.
All right, so a trust is a fantastic, powerful tool for your traditional assets. Your house, your bank accounts, your investment portfolio. But what happens when your assets aren't in a bank? What happens when they're on a blockchain? This brings us to a very modern problem: crypto inheritance.
The simple reality is that our legal system is still playing catch-up with technology, and this has created what experts are calling a digital inheritance vacuum. Our old tools, like wills and even standard trusts, just weren't built to handle things like private crypto keys or NFTs.
And this right here is the heart of the digital dilemma. It's like having a treasure chest locked with an uncrackable password, and you're the only person who knows it. What happens when you're gone? It's estimated that billions of dollars in crypto are already lost forever, simply because the owners passed away without a plan to transfer access. If no one else knows the key, how can your family possibly inherit what's rightfully theirs?
But here's the really cool part. Just as technology created this new problem, technology is also providing some incredible forward-thinking solutions. So let's take a look at how we can actually plan for our digital afterlife.
And this is where a brilliant piece of tech called a smart contract comes into play. Now, don't let the name scare you. The easiest way to think about it is like a super smart vending machine. You program it with a set of rules. If this happens, then do that. It lives on the blockchain, and it basically acts as an automated digital executor for your estate, following your instructions perfectly without needing a lawyer or any other human to get involved.
Now, one of the most powerful ways to use these smart contracts is with something that has a pretty intense name, but it's an absolutely ingenious system: a dead man switch. What it does is it monitors for your activity online. If you stop checking in, the system assumes something has happened to you, and it automatically triggers your inheritance plan.
And this slide shows just how simple and elegant it is in practice. So, step 1, you encrypt all your important info, your private keys, your instructions, whatever you want, and you store it on a secure, decentralized network. Step 2, you just have to check in every so often with a simple action, like signing a transaction. This proves you're still around and resets a timer. And step 3, this is the magic part. If you ever stop checking in, if that timer runs out, the switch flips and the system automatically releases that encrypted information to your chosen heir. It is such a smart solution to a really complex, modern problem.
So let's bring all this home with a clear, simple action plan you can start thinking about today. First, just review your own situation. Take a look at your estate and see if this 2026 cliff is going to affect you. For most people, the next step is to seriously consider a revocable living trust to keep things private and out of the courts. And finally, if you own any digital assets, it's absolutely time to start exploring these modern inheritance solutions we just talked about. The main takeaway from all of this is that being proactive right now is the absolute key to protecting the legacy you're building.
So, there you have it. The laws are changing, technology is moving at light speed, but the power to prepare and protect your family is always in your hands. I really hope this was helpful and gave you some clarity. And I'll leave you with this question to think about. After everything we've talked about today, what's the first step you're going to take to protect your legacy? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you for spending time with us here at the Violet Vault. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, stay focused and keep growing.